So, I got my Nintendo Switch stolen. Now, that might sound terrible, which it was, but sometimes bad circumstances could lead to interesting outcomes, right? And one for me was I ended up getting a Switch Lite. The Switch 2 is coming out at the end of the year, so I was like, let me get a more handheld version of the Switch, and then I could just leave my Switch 2 docked. Now, it's been a long time since I played handheld gaming at all. Even when I had my normal Switch, I usually left it docked. But I've discovered some JRPGs are really cozy and fun to play in bed or just handheld in general. So in this video, I wanted to give you guys 10 JRPGs that I think are amazing for playing handheld. So whether you have a Switch Lite or if you have a Switch but you majority play it handheld. The number 10 spot is Live Alive. This is a remake, technically, of the Square Enix RPG on the Super Famicom, and they did such a good job with this game, but it screams cozy, the pixel style is really nice on the handheld screen, and this is a game kind of like Octopath Traveler, where you're going through different stories for each of the characters, and it will eventually loop around and make an interesting outcome. So this game was awesome to go through handheld, and I prefer it much more over playing it on the big screen. The number 9 spot is Atelier Lulua. Now this is an Atelier game I never played before, and I got into it getting ready for Yumiya's release. I'm so surprised how much this game looks fantastic on a small screen. It's a 3D game and you're running around big 3D environments, but it looks really nice picture-wise, and the frame rate is really good. It's just like playing a full-fledged JRPG on your handheld screen, and I thought it was a great time. Lulua as a character is absolutely hilarious. The turn-based combat in this game actually gets pretty deep and requires you to do some challenging battles. Wholeheartedly recommend trying to play this handheld. The number 8 spot is Indivisible. I've never seen this game until I saw one of my homies playing through it, and I was like, wow, the 2D art for this game is beautiful. So I ended up getting it for the Switch, and I'm glad I did. For a handheld game, the picture quality is fantastic, and it holds 60 FPS most of the time. So walking through these 2D drawn backgrounds are incredible. And then the combat system is inspired by Valkyrie Profile. If you guys ever played that game from the past, really interesting combat system. You're kind of doing it in an action pace where you're sending out your moves and you gotta block the enemy's attacks and almost perfect block them. And each character is set to your buttons like X, Y, A, and B, and you gotta choose which ones you want to use. And then you'll hold down, left, or up on the stick to do certain different moves. It's pretty fast paced and very interesting for a combat system. I had a lot of fun. And in general, this game, you're just not gonna get sick of looking at how beautiful the environments are. The characters too are hilarious. Like, there were some cutscenes in this game that actually had me laughing my ass off. The number 7 spot is Lost Epic, and this is a very interesting one, another kind of low-key JRPG, but it's in the style of a Souls-like a little bit. The way you level up is kind of like a Souls-like, but it's 2D, and the way you approach enemies and perfect dodge moves and watch your health bar is very important. I really enjoyed this game. To choose from a preset of characters, so you kind of make your own MC, but they have a lot of different choices, and in general, you're kind of going through this Metroidvania platforming style game, but with Souls-like enemies and bosses. It was a really interesting experience. If you want it physically, you would have to get the Japanese version, but it comes with English subtitles, so that's what I ended up doing. It's super nice to play handheld in bed. Number 6 spot is this new Suikoden Remasters, which these are like perfect handheld Switch Lite games right here. It's the old school JRPGs, but updated graphics a little bit and new character portraits, and it was my first time playing it, and it's really fun. You have 108 different characters you could go around the world and recruit, and it just felt like an old Game Boy game in my opinion, but way updated, and honestly the story drew me in a lot. You're going to have a lot of fun trying to build your team throughout this game. And then you have the second game, which is like the fan favorite of the series. I really recommend if you pick up the Suikoden Remasters, you get it on Switch, and it's really fun to play handheld. The number 5 spot is Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. Now there's a few Tales games on the Switch and they all work really well. There's the new Symphonia Remaster, which honestly has some issues. I don't know if I would recommend getting that version. And then there's the new Graces, which is also fantastic for the Switch, but Vesperia in general was nice to play handheld. The combat system is really fun to get into, and it works great with the Switch controls, and walking around the environments, because the camera is usually fixed, It's just nice to see these environments when you're sitting in bed handheld. It has a clear picture quality and just looks really immersive as you're going through the game. It was honestly my favorite Tales game to do handheld. The number 4 spot is Collection of Mana. I started my Mana journey with the remake of Trials of Mana and then the new Visions of Mana. Both fantastic games, but I was like, I need to try some of the originals. So I got Collection of Mana, and it has 3 of the classics. It has Final Fantasy Adventure, the old Trials of Mana, and Secret of Mana, and these games are just perfect to play handheld. They're cozy, old school JRPGs. They'll get you to play some of the retro ones, and in general was just fantastic to play in bed. The number 3 spot is Harvestella by Square Enix, and this game is one of the bigger ones, kind of like Atelier Lulua, but translates really nicely on a small screen. So playing this on my Switch Lite, it was actually really interesting. It's like a half farming sim, half JRPG, with action combats that you're actually gonna have to learn a few things to get good at it, and I thought it was really cozy to play in bed or just handheld in general. It's also good to play docked, but again, this game translates really good to a smaller screen picture quality. The number 2 spot is Super Mario RPG Remake. The OG, good old Mario. It's a really nice game to play handheld, and I really enjoyed going through this original. Like, I never played this game before. I pretty much played Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, and I was like, oh, this looks similar. So I tried it, and it was an absolute blast. The new colors are very vibrant on the remake, and the game runs really well handheld. If you want a Mario adventure with some OG turn-based combat, I really recommend Mario RPG. And the final number 1 spot is Ys Origins. Ys games are really fun, but a lot of the newer ones unfortunately don't run very well on the Switch. Ys Origins, though, has a more chibi style, but with the same fast-paced, fun action combat of the Ys series, so this was really nice to play handheld. Again, another one of those games that just looks crisp on the small screen, and I've been having a great time playing this on my Switch Lite, and yeah, in general, I would recommend this over any of the newer Ys games, just because the performance is not so great on the Switch console. And those are 10 JRPGs I really recommend trying if you're a Switch Lite user or if you prefer to just play handheld gaming. These games translated really good on handheld mode, and it was an absolute blast to play through them, because some games you would just rather play docked, right? Like, I obviously didn't mention Xenoblade, which is like one of my favorite JRPG series ever, and they're okay on the handheld, but I just prefer that docked. The games are too big, you know what I mean? And then another one like Shin Megami Tensei 5, those are just better docked. But these 10 games I really think are super cozy and super fun to play handheld. So if you're like me and you own a Switch Lite, these are some great JRPGs to pick up and try on your Switch Lite. Or if you got the normal Switch and you just prefer handheld gaming and you haven't played one of these, I really recommend trying them out. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please subscribe if you enjoyed JRPG content, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.